Hi, everybody. Welcome to Reading Between the Lines. I'm Sarah, and as usual, I'm joined by my mom, Nicole. Hi, Mom.
Hello, welcome.
Well, what's our theme? Because right now it's the end of May. So, what is our theme today?
Our topic today is what makes a book a good summer read.
I love this. I know that everybody is coming out right now. At least in my spam folder, in my email, it's the top vacation reads or summer reads or beach
Exactly.
reads.
Or beach
Yeah,
read, right?
all of these are synonymous, but how do you typically define a summer read for
Well,
you?
many of us tend to read a bit differently during the summer months. And I was asking myself, why is that? And my theory is that when we take our summer break, we're kind of in relaxation mode and we want to read entertaining books that don't require intense mental energy and maybe have a less demanding content.
Yeah,
And we might be traveling or on vacation, and we want books that are shorter and easy to dip in and out of when we're distracted. And you've mentioned that sometimes that quality makes a book an easier read for you if you can pick it up and put it down and pick it up right where you left off and not feel like you've let anything kind
yeah,
of disappear from your mind. And also lighter books are a form of escapism, and it kind of goes with the summer feeling of wanting to just get away from it all. And
yes,
as you
absolutely.
also, you just previously alluded to the fact that publishers um, always come up with their big hyped promotions for summer books, and they're usually
Exactly.
published in the spring and early summer. And
Absolutely.
there's a lot of favorite authors in various genres that you can count on coming out with a book. I mean, I could list like 5 or 6 romance authors that I mean, look at Ellen Hildebrand. She made her fortune on coming out with a summer
Beach
book that
reads.
was set in Nantucket. You know, the classic cover of a woman's back as she's sitting looking out at the ocean in her beach chair. You know, just very stereotypical.
Exactly. Now, what I agree with all of that. Like for me, a typical summer read is again, it's light, digestible, an accompaniment to relaxing. Though when I vacation, I tend to cram stuff in. So I don't really have a lot of time for reading. So my reading tastes are a little different. Like, for example, Eva and I just went to Boston for spring break, and I only had time to read on the plane. And you know my rules already about plane reads. They have to be like a guaranteed 5-star book for me because there's nothing worse than being stuck on a plane with a book you don't want to read.
Yeah.
So it has to really keep my attention.
Well,
Um,
there are certain genres that are in
mhm. Yeah.
particular really popular for summer reading. And one of them is thriller, and of course,
Oh yeah.
romance, contemporary fiction, and also fantasy, as long as it doesn't have too much world building and you don't have to think too hard about,
Yeah.
getting into it.
Exactly. Yeah, I would agree with that. I also looked back at what some of the things that mom and I will talk about today. We're going to talk about 2 books that we both read last summer that we would recommend. And I went back and looked at what I read last summer, and I was having a thriller kick,
Yeah.
really like dark, intense domestic thrillers. So not relaxing and not beachy whatsoever. So I actually didn't choose those to talk about. I chose some that I still think fit into the genre better that I read in summers long ago, like the summer of 2020 and the summer of 2022.
Okay.
So,
All right.
do you want to start with your first one?
I will. Um, and my first one is a very intense, flipping the pages as fast as your fingers can make them
Oh,
turn
okay.
over, uh, book by TJ Newman. The book is called Drowning. She has several books that are all in this same general kind of heart pounding thriller type uh, she's an ex airline attendant.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so she
Okay.
has a lot of experience working for the airlines. And all of her books have to do with some kind of situation that occurs on an airplane. And the book that I read last summer that I still think about is called Drowning. And it was TJ Newman is the author, and it was published by Avid Reader Press last May 2024. And in this gripping thriller, Flight 1421 crashes into the Pacific, trapping passengers inside the sinking plane. And as the rescue mission unfolds and time is running out, you'll hold your breath, hoping for the survival of our trapped characters. And the intense pacing and this desperate rescue attempt make this book a real page turner. And it's also short, which is another good
Oh,
quality in a summer book. It's only 304 pages.
you know, uh, one thing that just came to mind for me as well is like for summer reads, do people tend to want to purchase the paperback instead of taking the Kindle to the pool or
Well,
taking
that's
a
a good
hardback?
point. I mean, if you're going to really be sitting at the pool or at the beach, you might not want your $25 hardback print copy to get, messed up by sticky hands or splashed water or sand, for heaven's
Yeah.
sake. So, and as far as
Yeah.
the Kindle, I don't know. It's easy to read the Kindle in bright light, which is a plus.
Yeah,
But
the
I
fire
don't
or
think
the
I
not the
would take
fire,
my
the
Kindle to the beach. Maybe, a paperback would be better for the beach.
I just remember being a kid and like, you'd go to like beach houses and there's always like a stack of paperbacks that somebody's left behind after they've
Yes,
read it
yes,
for
and
the
they're
next
usually
person.
pretty
So,
trash too if you
mhm.
think about it.
Um, well, drowning sounds so intense, and I'm just picturing a pocket of air on the ceiling of a plane that's sinking and like having to kind of tread water for 18
Well,
hours or
here's
more.
another interesting, little point about that book. Our 2 main characters that we're really rooting for that are trapped are a dad and his young daughter. And
Oh
who do you
gosh.
think is heading up the rescue mission? His ex-wife and her mother. So
Yeah,
that even makes it even, more personal.
absolutely. It sounds like a really good story.
It
I
does.
know that
All of
she's
her
written.
books are great. She did one about a hijacking attempt, which was the same thing, you know, heart racing, pulse pounding.
Oh,
Just
how are you reading this in particular? Did you read this on a Kindle?
no, I had print copy.
Okay. I was wondering how the audio would be because I have to go to Florida next week, so maybe that would be a
Oh,
nice
give it a try.
audio version.
She
It
is
might.
such a popular author
Oh,
that she's bound to have a really good narrator.
I don't want to read it, but I shouldn't be reading about on the plane about a plane crash. Um,
Yeah, that's
but
a
still,
thought.
she's got other books I could read.
Well,
So,
they all have to do with, situations on an
okay,
airplane, so I don't
I'll be
know.
brave. Um, okay. Well, one that I read not last summer, 5 summers ago. This was published in July 7th. You and I have talked about this. This was from Book of the Month, I believe, and it was called One to Watch. You remember this one?
I do.
Okay, so this was a great summer read. It's definitely in line with the romance genre. So I'll read the synopsis. Oh, by the way, sorry. This is by Kate Stamen London. And One to Watch is a funny and surprisingly tender twist on a reality dating show trope. So the heroine is a very stylish but relatable plus-sized fashion blogger, and
I
she's very
did
funny.
read
And
this. It's all coming back to me. Yeah, this was a
yeah,
good book.
it was a really good book. I gave it 5 stars, which is rare. So she already has fashion blogger. She has a great devoted support system and audience and fans and followers that love her. She's had a recent heartbreak, and like most of America, she is addicted to the show Main Squeeze, which is a bachelor-style show filmed with fantasy dates and too many men named Chad and all that crap. So, but she is over the lack of body diversity. And so and she's really tired of the message that only thin women deserve happily ever after. So when Main Squeeze offers her the starring role, she sees an opportunity not to find love, but to change the narrative, that's really, it's such a body positive book. I love also that um, it's not too, pardon the pun, it's not too heavy, meaning there could be a lot of there is a bit of self-deprecation that she goes into about her body and shaming herself at times. But the whole point is to challenge those toxic beauty standards. She wants to also boost her career and get some free travel and some free designer clothes. And so why not? Um, Once filming begins, things get messy, of course. It's lots of fun moments, a lot of very staged, the producers are obviously trying to get ratings. And so there's a bit of hijinks, but overall, lovely, fun, positive book.
I remember also there were also some very unkind remarks made by the male contestants on the show towards
Yes.
her regarding her appearance, and she was pretty spunky in her response, and the way that she dealt with their poor attitude
Yeah.
toward her body.
Yeah. So again, I don't think this is I don't remember this as being like a steamy kind of a romance.
Oh,
It's
no, I don't
a
well,
slow burn.
there were a couple
Uh,
of scenes, but nothing too graphic.
okay. Anyway, so highly recommend that one. I listened to it. So while I was out driving or running around, I would listen to this. No, did I listen to it? I feel like, no, yes, I did. Sorry. I also bought a copy of the book because I loved it so much. So, um, anyway, either way you read it, it's going to be fantastic. What's next for you?
Well, another book I read last summer was Just for This Summer by Abby Jimenez, which is she's one of my favorite romance writers. She's got a lot of books in her repertoire, and this was a recent one that was published by Forever Press in April of 2024. So the synopsis is Emma and Justin believe they're each other's good luck charm because everyone that they date finds true love with the next person they date after they break up. So Justin and Emma decide that they're going to have a fling with one another in an effort to break the curse, because obviously after the summer is over, they're going to break up. And then if it follows the plan, each one of them, the next person they meet will be the forever person. So, as real feelings emerge, family complications and personal fears begin to challenge their plan. And you can probably see it coming that they will develop stronger feelings for one another. And it's not so much a fling as it is something deeper that evolves. And the book had absolutely fantastic characters. The two main characters, Emma and Justin, were super appealing. And as in a lot of romance books, the cast of secondary characters is really entertaining, and there's a lot of witty banter. And anyway, the book had great characters, and there were hardships that were mentioned, but they were supported very strongly by love and friendship. And
Mhm.
also, this book had a great plot twist. So,
Ooh.
all
Okay.
a great recipe for a very entertaining summer book.
And pretty light, pretty speedy too to get through.
Well, I looked at the page count, and it's actually over 400 pages, but Abby Jimenez
Wow.
books seem like they just fly by to me because you're so entertained all throughout the
Yeah.
whole thing. There's never a dull moment. The chapters are not long, and that's another quality in a good summer book. Eva calls them Cheeto chapters because they're just just long enough for you to have a couple of chips, and then you're done, and you can go take a break, and then come back to it and read another short chapter while you have a couple more Cheetos.
That sounds like my child. Yes. Okay. Cool. I love that. I have another, actually, one of my summer book recommendations that I'll talk about later is exactly that. It's a Cheeto chapter book. So,
Well, I have a few others that I'm not going to go into a detail
mhm.
mentioning, but that I did read last summer that we've already
Okay.
talked about in past podcasts.
Yeah.
Um, I read Margot's Got Money Troubles by Ruthie Thorpe, which I know you'll agree that was a good one.
That's a
I would say
favorite.
that one is more contemporary literature.
Yeah.
Um,
But a
and
good summer choice. Yeah.
and one of my top books of the year, Colton Gentry's Third Act by Jeff Zentner. I love that book so much, about the country singer who he's been kind of blacklisted because of something he said at a concert. And he moves home with his mom, and he needs a job because money's not coming in anymore. And the
Oh,
only place
no.
in town that's hiring is the restaurant that's owned by his ex-girlfriend. Anyway,
Oh,
everything just falls into place with that book, and I loved every minute of it. And the last one I was going to mention is The Rom-Commers by Catherine Center. Catherine Center is very reliable at coming out with a new book every summer, as is
hmm.
Emily Henry and Abby
Yeah.
Jimenez. And there are a number of authors that you can count on to have a lighter book that comes out in April, May, June. And
Yeah,
if you could stick with the romance genre, you'll have plenty of reading material.
for sure. Okay. So, one of my summer reads that I read in 2022 was Reckless Girls by Rachel Hawkins. Now, this cover is like, it's not like, it is neon yellow with beautiful pink hibiscus flowers all over it. It screams tropical thriller adventure, which I think is a fabulous way
Yeah.
to, for a summer read. So, in Reckless Girls, it really drops you into this very lush, sun soaked paradise. It twists into something a lot darker. This also, I think this takes place somewhere in between, in the seas between Hawaii and Tahiti, which I don't think are very close to each other. But actually, if we go look at a map, there's sort of, anyway, you got to go look at a map. But anyway, this is also one of those books that takes place on a boat. I love boat books. I'm not sure what to call that. Not necessarily, well, any kind of boat, actually, whether it's pirate ship or a yacht, I'm here for it. But anyway,
Well, it's
um,
kind of the locked room concept, isn't it? Because you're
mm,
not getting off the boat.
that's right. Okay, good point. So, when Lux and her boyfriend are hired to sail two women to the remote and beautiful Moreau Island, it feels like an adventure and an escape she's been longing for. The island is it's wild and intoxicating, has turquoise waters, empty beaches, and also an eerie history of shipwrecks and whispers of danger. So, it's all barefoot freedom and cocktails under the stars, but another couple is actually already anchored at the island. And there's an uninvited stranger who shows up. The vibe starts to shift. Tension thickens, secrets surface, and really things begin to be not so carefree. And Lux begins to realize that she doesn't think anyone is telling the truth about who they are, all for different reasons. She doesn't know if she can trust her boyfriend anymore. It was just such a gripping thriller, and again, it has that lovely tropical vibe the entire time, and it's definitely an escapism type of book
You know
and
what?
fast
Put
paced.
me out on my back porch with a margarita and give me that book right now. I don't think I've read it. I remember the
Yeah.
cover, but oh, that sounds so
Yeah,
good.
I mean, and there's like, mentions of yachts and like some people have yachts, like our main
Yeah.
characters are on a sailboat, so it's a little trickier. I always, yeah, I do love a good murder, boat murder. So anyway, all right. I've got more books that I'm looking forward to reading. Do you want to transition to that? Okay.
Yeah. So we've got another summer ahead of us. So what are we going to read this summer? And there's several books that I'm really looking forward to that I've ordered. In fact, one of them is going to be published
Oh,
tomorrow, and I've got it. I'm going to
okay.
download it to my Kindle immediately. Um, it's called Run for the Hills by Kevin Wilson. and it's published by Echo.
Okay.
Actually, this isn't the one that's coming out tomorrow. This one came out a week or so ago. It was
Oh,
published May 13th this year, and I'd classify
okay.
it as contemporary fiction. Kevin Wilson is the author of Nothing to See Here, and you might remember it. The cover had a picture of like a kid with their hair and their head just
Oh,
like.
and like their dress over their head or something, or
Yes, and
no?
what the book had that book had a ridiculous premise, and it was that these kids would kind of burst into flames if they got too upset. They were never hurt, it was just a thing that happened. They would just like burst into flame if you got them upset. And it was a very funny book. Kevin Wilson has a very unusual sense of humor.
Okay.
And it was good. I'm telling you, it was good. Okay.
Okay.
But Run for the Hills is his new one. And the synopsis that I read is Madeline Hill's quiet life on a Tennessee farm is upended when Reuben, a half brother she never knew existed, arrives at her farm in his PT Cruiser. Together, they embark on a cross-country road trip. I mean, who doesn't love a road trip book? How perfect for summer is that? So she and this guy that says he's her half brother, and of
Did
course,
they take the PT Cruiser?
of course, she just he's some guy turns up, says, "I'm your half brother. Let's go," and she gets in the car with him, and they go off
No,
on this road trip. Oh yes, and
no.
because their mission is to find their very elusive father who has some explaining to do, and other half siblings that live along the
Oh
way
my.
across the country.
Oh my.
So they Reuben and Madeline and these other siblings that they pick up along the way form unexpected bonds. And the book is supposedly infused with deadpan wit, zany hijinks, and enormous heart. And it promises to be a wonderful family saga. So I'm
I've
looking
been in the
forward to
mood for
that one.
some zany hijinks lately, so that sounds
Why
fun.
not? Let's have a road trip book.
That's cute. Okay. I love that. All right. So what I found is we were just talking about this. I don't know when we were talking about this, in March or April, but we were talking about how like nobody reads series of books anymore. You don't, because it's because there's too many options now. There's so many great authors versus before books became so much more popular and the birth of social media. We didn't, I don't need to explain this. You get what I'm saying. So I've decided that I do want to read more series though, and get into that and really support these authors that I do like. You gave me that great suggestion with reading We Solve Murders.
Yeah.
I loved that one. Richard Osmond, is that Osmond?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
You read it. You liked it. Good.
I read it and I finished it. I loved it. It was fantastic. So if you're looking for hijinks, that's another good one.
Yeah.
But I read 2 books recently, and what I'm trying to get to is to say that this summer I would like to read the sequels to these 2 books. I am
Oh.
not going to talk about those sequels. I will just talk about the first book in the series
Mhm.
because I just recently read them. So I'm looking forward to reading A Fire Endless. This is a sequel to A River Enchanted by Rebecca Ross, which you've
Oh,
read.
yes.
Okay. This is the first. So, A River Enchanted is the first book in the Elements of Cadence series. And this came out in February of 2022. I like this as a summer read, and I'm looking forward to reading the sequel because this is very much like an enchanted island. There's elemental spirits. It's kind of like Outlander, like Scottish mystery
Yeah.
meets a little bit of romantasy, and it's very, like I said, very atmospheric. You just really feel like you can feel the blades of grass between your toes, and you're out walking along the moor and all the things. So, A River Enchanted by Rebecca Ross is one of those rare books that really manages to be both a page turner, while still feeling very slow and lyrical, like just a beautiful, meandering little bubbling forest stream. I just found it deeply relaxing, but it kept my attention because there is a mystery. Again, windswept island, there are elements of earth, air, fire, and water. They're all very much alive. They act as characters in their own right in this book. But the story is following Jack. He's a reluctant bard summoned home after years away by his laird, by the clan leader. His very determined and childhood rival, Adara, is also happens to be a love interest. They have to team up to uncover why young girls are vanishing from their clan. So they're just completely vanishing. There's no trace of them whatsoever. Lots of search parties going out to find who's abducting these children. They think it's the Fae. There's this element of magic about how these girls just disappear into the ether entirely. So anyway, this book was beautifully immersive. If you love a character-driven fantasy with a strong sense of place, you don't need to learn a magic system or anything overly complicated. Not salacious, just the right tinge of romance. Absolutely loved it. And what's it called? The next one, A Fire Endless, is the next book in the series, which kind of keeps going with these main characters that we love. So absolutely recommend.
I think the summer is actually a really good time to tackle a series. I remember one summer, this was decades ago, I discovered a mystery author named John D. MacDonald. And they weren't mysteries exactly, they were more like detective books.
Yeah.
And he was, I think, a PI, private investigator. Anyway, he had a series of books. I mean, he must have written like 35 books. And I remember one summer, I think that's all I read is just one John D. MacDonald book after another. And I was just fine with it.
Yeah. And, it doesn't need to be, sometimes with a series, it's like you already understand the story. It's a little lighter sometimes because you're just diving right back into like the entertainment factor. There's less of a buildup that has to happen. You just get to jump right back in.
Well, and unfortunately, you and I, now that we're in the book podcasting and book review business, it's a lot harder for us to commit to spending a summer just reading one author because we feel so pressured to try to expose ourselves to, other things that are out there. So
I've been thinking about that,
allowing yourself to go for at least the second in the series.
Yeah, because I realized that, I do put pressure on myself so that I'm always reading. I have very specific reading tastes. I realize that, but I do try to read more diversely.
Yeah.
And I also, so I try not to just have every single book be by a Japanese author, for example, or have it be a creepy twins book, even though those are my favorites. But I also feel I want to read what's interesting to me, and especially if I really like it, I'm definitely going to recommend it as well. So I'll stop yammering on, but I have another book, but you have one too, I think. So it's your turn.
I have one other book, and this is the one that's published tomorrow. I've already pre-ordered it, so I'm going to get it tomorrow. And it's called It's a Love Story by Annabelle Monaghan, published by G.P. Putnam's Sons tomorrow, May 27th. And it's definitely in the romance genre. But Annabelle Monaghan is really known for her previous books, all of which have been excellent. One of them was Nora Goes Off Script. You may have heard of that one. It was really hyped a few years back. And then I believe last summer, I read her book called Same Time Next Summer. And I didn't enjoy that one as much as Nora Goes Off Script, but she's an auto-buy author for me. So I'm going to just read everything she comes out with. So It's a Love Story comes out tomorrow. And the synopsis says, what happens when the former child star of a second-rate sitcom becomes a mid-level studio executive? So it's set in the entertainment business. And apparently nothing good happens, according to Jane Jackson, who is our main character. But when a little white lie turns into a big potential catastrophe, Jane discovers that she might actually have a chance at true love. So I love this author, as I said, and
Cool.
I can't wait. So I'm going to probably start reading it tomorrow.
I love that. Okay. Um, well, see, that sounds really fun. That just sounds exactly like the kind of book you want to pick up
Yeah.
for, a pool read or beach read. Um, okay. So I just finished a book that is middle grade. I do
Really?
love a good middle grade once in a while, and I like it because, again, talk about light. I mean, you don't have to worry about it being too sexy or too murdery or too thrilling. It's something that you can easily pick up. So the Green Ember series is new to me. This has been around since 2014, though. The first book itself is called The Green Ember by S.D. Smith. And I just finished this. It was absolutely fantastic. And now I want to read the next book, which that says a lot because, again, this is middle grade. So it really did hold my attention. So this is a book about here we go, two young rabbits. Now we're not, again, this is not Watership Down, but this is about two young rabbits named Heather and Pickett. And they have a very beautiful, quiet life with their family in their little village. And they live in a hollowed out tree and all that cute stuff. Well, we'll forget about that because their life is shattered when a sudden tragedy forces them into a world of danger, mystery, and long lost legends. As they journey through an unexpected twist, they meet hidden resistance. They discover that their family's past, they hold the key to a much bigger story. The book is full of heart and bravery and the kind of classic adventure that feels like it's been around forever, even though this is super fresh. This is a wonderful read with a family with kids. Eva did not read this with me. I just listened to this all on my own and I enjoyed it. I also loved how the two rabbits are tweens, I would say. They're kind of aged so that they're not quite seen as adults yet, but they are not children. So the teens as rabbits, they are portrayed with lots of emotion. They're on that cusp of like wanting to do adult things and wanting to be grown-ups, and they're being put in very adult, dangerous situations. But they're still on the edge of innocence of where they just wish so much they could just go back home, and that's not an option anymore. Also, this is similar to the Redwall series by Brian Jacques. And it has what Eva loves, which is Cheeto chapters. Super short. So again, great for littles. If you have littles in your life with short attention spans, this would be a great chapter book to read. But again, the action in this was fantastic. There's bad guys, which are wolves, and there's chases in the forest, and it was just so, I was just like on the edge of my seat while washing dishes. I was just like, loved it.
So do you think you
So
you could share this book with Eva? Is she at almost 14? Do you think she would enjoy it?
I don't know because Eva's already borrowing like my horror books for
Yeah.
adults and she's reading those. So I don't know if this would hold her attention. I also got a book recently that for our trip to Boston by TJ Kingfisher, and it was something about like magical baking guide, and it was very much a similar action packed book, but in a chase, and there's wizards that bake, and
Yeah.
she did not enjoy it. She thought it was boring.
Oh, really? Okay.
So I don't know what to do with this child, but I enjoyed that book and I enjoyed this book. So maybe it's just my maturity level is that of a middle grader. Still, I don't know.
It sounds
Highly recommend it. Again, A.S.D. Smith. So the next book in the series will go on with like this is a saga, this whole story, and so the next book I'm like fully invested and can't wait to read it.
yeah.
So, I think again, great for car rides, road trips with the
Yeah.
family. This would be a really fun, family friendly book to read. So yeah,
I'm thinking of different series of books that I've experienced and kind of um, just become obsessed with, and just like read one after another. When
yeah,
I was not that much older than Eva, I discovered Agatha Christie. And we were living in Argentina, and we were on a college campus that did have a library that had a good selection of American novels or books that were published in English anyway. And somebody had donated their stack of Agatha Christie paperbacks. And I remember reading those one after another and just immersing myself in them. And I didn't get bored. I mean, her books are pretty different. And they're also short books too.
Yeah.
Reading a 275-page Agatha Christie book takes no time at all. Whereas people who decide they're going to read the entire Outlander series, where some of the books are 600, 700 pages long, that's a commitment.
It is. I don't have the patience. Now, there's a couple more things I wanted to mention because we are basically done with our recommendations for this episode, but I wanted to give an honorable mention to two of my new acquaintances. I have interviewed both of these authors recently. So Andrea Bartz, her book, Last Ferry Out, is a thriller and also an island theme, great for summer. Okay. That just came out on May 20th. And then Ex-Girlfriend Murder Club by Gloria Chow also just came out this month. And that is a thriller and a little bit more campy, kind of a la Donovan Finley or Finley Donovan's Killing It, kind of a style of a, murder mystery kind of a thing, so very fun. And I would highly recommend those books as well if you're looking for something that's new. So.
Well, I have another series that just came to mind. The Robin Hobb fantasy novels. The Fitz and the Fool and is one of the titles. Anyway, these books have dragons and they have world building that's not that complicated. They're not short, but they're very entertaining and the kind of book that you could pick up and put down without losing your plot too easily.
So I just found out, this is a segue, that my friend Kristen does Robin Hobb's hair. And so I'm not promising anything, but maybe there could be an introduction and I could see if Robin would like to be on the show. But anyway,
she's so famous. That would be so cool.
Yeah, she's really cool. She sounds like she's a very down to earth person. So you never know. You just have to ask.
You're right. Oh my gosh. She can really write a book.
Yep. Well, I guess that wraps it up for us.
Yeah.
All right. I would love to know from anyone listening, if you have a favorite beach read or summer read, please let us know. You can always email us.
Yep.
And in the show notes, there's ways to reach out to us or leave a comment on the socials. So we're always looking for great books to read, just like you. So, all right, Mom.
Fantastic.
Well, thank you.
Well, enjoyed talking to you.
Okay. Bye.
Bye. Happy reading.